Dr. Lupo was one of the biggest streamers on Twitch. Then he switched to YouTube and shocked everyone. Today we ask him why he did it. But first, we learn how he built an audience of millions and raised over $10 million for charity. Don't miss out on this one.
It has been one of the most complicated jobs I think I've ever taken on in my entire life. And I know a lot of people are like, you just sit there and play video games. The behind the scenes and the lead up to the point where I am now has been kind of wild. I started streaming because a friend of mine wanted to try and see what he could do with his career. Brian, Ninja with Noel is his name. We played together for a while, and then he went off to college. And here's where stroke of luck number one comes along, is when he went to school, he took too damn long to pick an apartment. So he got one that had DSL internet, which he could not stream on. So I was like, okay, I'll keep going, and I'll keep the community that we kind of grew together. I'll keep that going. We had built this like community of people that watched. In fact, some of those same people that watched us back then still watch us now. And so because of Brian's choice to go to college at the time that he did, and my ability to keep that community growing and kind of utilize that for good, because we started getting involved in charity stuff. We helped out with St. Jude stuff, and I did a Make-A-Wish stream and Fragile X and a bunch of different things at the time. People knew what I was about. So even when Brian left and had to go to school and couldn't stream anymore, there was an understanding that like, okay, Dr. Lupo, Ben, I'm not a jackass. And it's funny to say is like, that's a pretty important thing to have going for you, is not be an asshole about the position you're in.
In some ways, you're almost variety in a sense, because you're able to navigate these changes in games over the years. But back in the beginning, that wasn't necessarily the case. How did you find that in the beginning?
What I did when I first started streaming was a year and a half straight, basically, of Destiny 1. I was doing trials runs on the weekends for viewers and stuff like that. People that like the game or like you will come and watch you no matter what, because they're like, oh, Loop's playing the game again. Whatever game it is at the time, they're like, oh, Loop's playing the game. He's been playing for forever. He's on Destiny again. He's probably doing trials runs or whatever, PvP. Go watch that. But when you move away from that, people get very mad when you change games, even if it's bad. A year and a half the same game, man, can be really mentally taxing. For my own mental health, I started stepping away from Destiny after a little while and jumped into BRs. I did play Overwatch for a little bit, but H1Z1 I streamed straight for a couple weeks. When you're running just the same game, because you build up a community of people that know what to expect. But when you start changing the program up, just like with a TV show, you risk losing the viewership of the people that are only there for the game. It's okay to have that viewership drop. It's what it does is it shows you the people that are there for you. I mean, I friggin' did Animal Crossing for a while, and we tried to overthrow the empire of Tom Nook, that little rat bastard. But that's important, because now that I've been established for long enough, and I have that core group of people that are like, I watch Dr. Lupo for Dr. Lupo, for his sarcasm and the dad bod or whatever jokes I'm making about it, that kind of thing. They know what to expect from me, and so they're like, I want to see that personality paired up with that game genre, and it's different than anything they've seen before. And they're like, I want to see that from you.
A lot of creators struggle to prioritize real life and developing those relationships. How have you found balancing that over the last 7 years?
It helped a lot from the beginning that my wife was fully on board with this thing that I'm doing. It was her idea initially for me to change over to full-time from my previous job. She's a part of what we do. Every second counts, right? Because I only got the one life to live. I only have the one son. I don't think we plan on having another kid. The realization hits me more every single day that it is the most important thing in the world, is being present. There's no respawns, there's no second tries, there's nothing like that. Why waste my one opportunity now when I could use it to do something like go play with Lego with my son? I think the most important thing is to be honest and serious about what you're trying to do. The typical job that we imagine, you have a reliable ladder to climb. Streaming is a coin toss. A lot of the time, it almost feels like that still for me. Is like there are days where I feel like I'm on a downward slide, but then you have to remember it's not the numbers game might eat away at you. You got to push that out of the way. Please do me a favor, have a backup plan. Even when I was trying to grow my career to where it is now, having a plan, a backup plan, just in case, and having everybody on board with both the main plan and the backup plan is like, that's number one. That having that person with you on board with what the plan is, having a fallback that's safe and secure, that's it. That's the dream, I think.
You have a group of folks you play with regularly. How important is that you're not necessarily doing it alone?
Networking is arguably the most important thing that this job will ever benefit from, because every time you play with another content creator, you expose yourself to a larger audience. I was playing PUBG not long after I stopped playing Destiny, maybe 400 or 500 viewers. And one day I was in the center of the map and I saw a guy in a blue shirt and white pants go up into the top of a building. I line of sighted with a tree and I waited for him to sit up top, and he turned around and wasn't facing me. So I stepped out and I started cooking a nade and I let her rip. And as soon as I stepped out from behind the tree, the guy stood up, turned around, and started beating the shit out of me with a scar. The nade air burst right on his face, and that's how I met Tyler. Without that serendipitous stars aligning moment that came out of nowhere, it wasn't a stream snipe, it wasn't anything like that. It was an organic meeting opportunity. I said, hey, if you ever want to run duos, let me know, because I knew my chat would clip it and go over there. And I watched clips where it's like Dr Lupo, partnered Destiny streamer, and he's like laughing about it. And 2 days later, he messages me back on Twitter. He says, hey, let's run some duos. And the chemistry that came from that, because it was an organic, natural meeting opportunity, elicited one of the best friendships I still have to this day. I love Tyler to death. He's like my brother now. And that networking, the friendship that came from that, gave me one of the biggest boosts of my career, right? Because suddenly you're playing with Ninja. Without Tim the Tatman knowing Summit and Lyric and Ninja and Nick Merckx, and without Mizkif knowing XQC and Soda Poppin' and Pokey and all those people, without OTV playing with OTV, without, Courage and Marcel and Nogla, and without Cloak knowing, 72 Hours and all the guys from Fortnite. It's so funny to hear people say XYZ person made you. Bro, everybody makes everybody else. Without me playing with content creators that I played with in Tarkov, they wouldn't be where they are. Without me retweeting clips, there's a woman that's part of our community named Amy. She goes by Amethyst. She used to make really funny TikToks where she acted like me and Tim the Tatman and Courage and Ninja, and they were fucking hilarious. So I retweeted them. And then her TikTok went nuts because all of us would retweet them. Now she gets like 1,000 viewers on Twitch because she's super funny. But those networking opportunities, bro, everybody makes everybody, dude. When one person eats, everybody eats. And that's important to remember. Sometimes in life, you face decisions that are intimidating. And if you don't take those risks at the appropriate time, the right time, then there could be opportunities that you miss out on. I was on Twitch for 6 years. Prior to that decision, I was in my comfort zone. I was doing fine, 8 to 10K playing Tarkov, maybe 5 to 7 playing anything else. But you also get put in a place where you're faced with this is my one shot kind of opportunity, right? Where someone says you could do this. Like on Twitch, I was a big fish in a lake, but beyond that, there isn't a whole lot of potential for growth once you've kind of hit your peak. On YouTube, I am a small fish in the ocean. When looking at those numbers and the opportunity to push out of my comfort zone and try something new, you kind of have to ask yourself a question whether or not you want to maintain the status quo and just be comfortable and go along, or if you want to try and change it up. The same thing applies when I first started this job. Is I had another job at the time that was great. I was making 6 figures, so it was a job where like I could have sat and been comfortable. I could have just rode that out, done a handful of hours of work a day, dicked around on Reddit, and been happy. But why do that when you can take an opportunity that may change your life and other people's lives as a whole, right? If I stayed in my old job, I never would have been able to raise almost $10 million for St. Jude.
That just gives me goosebumps, man. That is phenomenal.
That's insane. Without the people that have followed me along in my career path and chosen to continue to support the causes that I support, I wouldn't even be here. That's why I said have a backup plan if you're just getting started. If an opportunity presents itself and you can envision a way where things can grow astronomically, where you can do something you've always wanted to do, if you don't take that chance, you might never have it again. If I didn't take the chance to become a content creator, I would probably never have it. That's the antithesis of how do you make it as a content creator, is when do you know when to take that jump? And that's why when people ask, I often tell them that luck plays a big part in what I do, because I fully feel like without luck and seeing those moments and seizing them at the right time, I wouldn't be here in front of you.
I know you enjoyed that video, so what are you waiting for? Subscribe. We have so much more great content coming your way.